Hello and welcome back to another day in the arena. It's me, it's CGB, and it's Meta Monday. So this is your Meta Monday update for Standard, but we're also going to talk a little bit about Historic after we do some of the Standard talk, and we also throw in some bonus gameplay at the end. Oko got banned, gone, poof, out of there, and we talked about that last week, so I think the big question on most people's minds is, do we have a healthy meta now? Is Magic better? Is it more fun? Is it more interesting? Are there more different decks? And Twitch Rivals did something awesome. They held a tournament the day after the banning, a $75,000 tournament with over 200 participants. And they we're going to go over the results. We're going to look at the decks in the top 16, and we'll start right away with the winner. This is Goldgari Adventures. So, Goldgari Adventures is one of the decks that didn't lose very much when Oko got banned. They lost Once Upon a Time, which Once Upon a Time really enabled the turn 1 broken Innkeeper draws where they play Edgewall Innkeeper, then they play like Adventure Creatures every turn for the rest of the game, drawing a bunch of cards. So that made those more consistent, but those aren't necessary for the deck to succeed. Instead, what you can definitely do, and what happens a lot of times when this deck is played, is Edgewall Innkeeper just gets cast later in the game, after you've done a few adventure things like Murderous Rider or Permanent, or set up your Lovestruck Beast. Then you just play Edgewall Innkeeper later and draw some extra cards. Then you get it back with Order of the Midnight and do it again later when you have the right cards. This is Mike Sigrist's winning deck list. He is a member of the MPL and an excellent player, of course. And there are some things in the deck list that I think a lot of these decks got away from that sort of points a direction for this archetype to go. Number 1, for Paradise Druids. Mike Sigrist has a podcast called Pro Points, where he said that you need the mana. So Paradise Druid is a very important card. It also plays along with the closers. The closers are Rankle, Master of Pranks, and Questing Beast. That's 6 4-cost haste cards to just put the pressure on really quickly. In particular, this was very important against Golos Field of the Dead. When Oko took over, these became much less important. Now the big deck that most people are trying to beat is Cat Oven. Cat Oven. And these put the pressure on Cat Oven. You've got to really chunk the hell out of their life total, because those little cats in their chump blocking are very, very bad for you. Vivian Arcbow Ranger also helps in that case. Vivian on team with Questing Beast, of course, can remove anything, but Vivian giving +1/+1 counters to Lovestruck Beast means it can trample over that stupid Cat Oven. There are 2 Midnight Reapers to draw even more cards. There's 3 Murderous Riders. Sigrist did say the Midnight Reaper could go. He wasn't sure what exactly to put in its spot, maybe more removal spells. And speaking of removal spells, look at how sparse this Goldgari deck is on removal spells. There's actually only the Murderous Riders. It could be a best of 1 deck almost. Vivian functions like a removal spell, Garruk can do some removal, but there's no Vraska. Remember 4-mana Vraska? That card was mostly good against Oko and probably doesn't need to be in the deck anymore. The mana base, 25 land. Make sure you have plenty of land. By the way, we're using aetherhub.com. You can go to Aetherhub Meta Hub, recent events, and that's where I found this Twitch Rivals section if you're looking for how to find these deck lists. And on Aetherhub, which is one of my sponsors, you can hit this export button and export the list directly to MTG Arena if you want to play the deck. The sideboard is interesting. It goes all the way up to Liliana. It adds Massacre Girls. It also has Shifting Ceratops to just get in there with haste. Probably to kill Fire's decks quickly, something like that. The Brontos for the Ovens, I've got to assume, although there's plenty of places where Bronto can be good. And Legion's End, some extra removal against like mono red, things of that nature. 4 copies of Duress. You got to poke a hole in those Fires decks and in other control decks, Simic Flash. And then 2 Assassin's Trophies. General all-purpose. I'm not sure what I have to remove, but I've got to remove it. It was a wide open field, so you don't know quite what you're running into. So, yeah, I love this build of the deck. I think it looks very solid, and it's probably going to be a major contender going forward. The second place list is one of those decks that I think everybody needs to respect and fear. This is the Jun Sacrifice list. So, arguably the best cat oven deck. Right around the time Oko was banned, there was a Sultai list with Trail of Crumbs. The main blue card was Oko. I suggested going to a Goldgari version of Trail of Crumbs, but honestly, adding red just for Mayhem Devil makes a lot of sense. Mayhem Devil completely dominates the mirror and can dominate a number of matchups. Mono Red has a very hard time if you kill all their small 1-drops. Cavalcade of Calamity, Blue-White Flyers if that deck is ever around more. Simic Flash even has a lot of trouble with a resolved Mayhem Devil. Because you can create so many sacrifice triggers, this can just pick things off or double down the clock very, very quickly. I love the Massacre Girls. They're just so strong in the meta right now. Wicked Wolf got scaled way back because Oko is gone. Nobody's there to feed him except this Gilded Goose and this Trail of Crumbs, and you might have other uses for your food besides Wicked Wolf. It's also a little slow. It's a very expensive card now that people aren't making his food as quickly. So, and most people know about the Wolf. They know how to play around it. That's got to be another major factor. Vraska stays in this deck because of the sacrifice. There's a lot of sacrifice synergy, and Vraska lines up more sacrifices. Then we have a Liliana. I really love Korvold in this deck. This list didn't run Korvold, and there are definitely people out there who think that Korvold is great and people who think it is a clunky brawl commander. And I am of the opinion that it's great, but I can totally respect Liliana. When you look at Korvold and you look at Liliana, they do different things, and they are both powerful in very different ways. So I can respect, at least if you're going to take the Korvold out, put something strong in its place. 24 land, not too much surprise in the mana base to talk about. No castles, well, a castle, but very low castle count. So making sure that you, curve out. Sideboard, only one Noxious Grasp. How the mighty have fallen. I would still run a lot of Noxious Grasp because I still expect a lot of green. Cinder Vines, that's got to be a Temur Reclamation technology, as Temur Rec is a very strong card against these a very strong deck against these sacrifice decks. 4 Lovestruck Beasties. So sometimes you just need big bodies because you're kind of playing a slow small ball game, and throwing a beast on the battlefield against the opponent who's trying to play some kind of a stompy deck is just a brick wall. Questing Beast to close the game, Ugin for more grinding. Another Goldgari Adventures deck took 3rd. Let's look at the Jeskai Fires deck in 4th. Jeskai Fires with Cavaliers. Now, I played one of these decks in Twitch Rivals. I wasn't particularly happy with it because Golos was still a really tough matchup. I expected the matchup to be better than it was. But now that Golos is gone and Oko is gone, how strong is the Cavalier game plan out of the Fires deck? I think you'll see it in a video very soon. My opponent played Fires of Invention. They had Sphinx of Foresight, they had Cavalier of Flame, and Kenrith the Return King, and God Eternal Oketra instead of Cavalier of Gales. Which, when you have Fires of Invention, and you play Sphinx of Foresight, and then you go to your next turn, and you play God Eternal Oketra, then Cavalier of Flame, it makes another 4/4, and then you pump the whole team and attack. That's well over 20 damage. One of the problems I had with this deck is I would often play Fires on 4, and then I would play Cavalier into Cavalier, and I would pump, but it wasn't enough to kill my opponent, and if they had one chump blocker, I had problems. I kind of like the Oketra version, and I can't wait to try it out a little bit. Obviously, Fires is one of the more powerful decks that just stuck around and endured through the bans, so I think you'll see a lot of it. A lot of people complain about this deck on my channel and in my comments, but I think it's about where it needs to be. I think you should be able to take advantage of a deck that plays Fires of Invention, and I've lost to it plenty, but I've also beat it plenty of times, even when they resolve Fires. I think that the really annoying version is the one with Fae of Wishes, and I think that's the most likely version to get hated out and tempoed out. So I approve of this version. I think it's maybe not a fair deck, but it's close. It's closer to fair than some of the broken stuff we've been dealing with. Note the high land count, 27. If you're going to play Fires of Invention, you have to hit your first 5 land drops every time, and you have to do it without ramp spells. So you need a high land count. Your Scry lands usually help you get to lands. Your Sphinx of Foresight has to help you get to land. Everything has to be about hitting 5 lands so you can make your big plays. And of course, finding a Fires of Invention. Now we got some spice. You were like, where's the spice? We expected that stuff. Here's some spice. Simic Quasi-Duplicate. This deck is a beaut. Who played this? Travik. Travik played this? My god. So, just when you thought it was safe, and Oko was gone, and Once Upon a Time was gone, just when you thought we were safe from the Simic, oh yeah, remember Risen Reef? So this deck is all about, of course, playing fast mana, ramping up with 4 Cavaliers of Thorns and 4 Risen Reefs, using Quasi-Duplicate, which can be cast from the graveyard or from the hand to make even more of them, getting Nissa Who Shakes the World, Hydroid Krasis, and of course Agent of Treachery. The deck actually doesn't play Jace. It's really a straight up ramp deck. It doesn't try to win with Jace. It tries to win with Overwhelming Board, which I approve of. I think that decking yourself is kind of a meme. I think that smashing the opponent to death with Giant Hydroid Krasis and Nissa is proven to work. So, much approve of this Simic ramp strategy. Kind of a throwback to the versions before Throne of Eldraine. Still very powerful, very assertive. Very, very good. The Rakdos Sacrifice deck is, in my opinion, a worse version of the Jund or the Goldgari lists, but it is still a decent list, and this version goes with what I like in the deck, which is God Eternal Bantu. The Rakdos Color Challenge is coming, and you'll see me play a deck not quite this, but very similar. Really focused on the Midnight Reaper, Priest of the Forgotten Gods, Witch's Oven, Cauldron Familiar, Mayhem Devil Engine, and God Eternal Bantu as the fireball that brings it all together. So I was happy to see this version make the top 8 of Twitch Rivals, because I think that the God Eternal Bantu Mayhem Devil version is the best right now. I've seen plenty of versions without it, running Cavalier of Night instead of God Eternal Bantu, running Liliana Dreadhorde General, maxing out on Chandra, Acolyte of Flame, which you don't even see in the list. And I think that those versions they're going for synergy, but it's not strong enough. Whereas Bantu plus Devil can just go over the top and burn the opponent out from strange positions. 25 land, you've got to hit your land drops in these decks. Play more land, folks. I like the 3 castles. I like the 4 Fabled Passage, because Fabled Passage synergizes with the Devil. And then down here, we're back on a 4-dress plan. Ember's Shield Breaker should probably be in more sideboards. It can kill the Oven for mana parity and give you a 2/1. That's probably as good as it is gonna get for killing the Oven. I like Dreadhorde Butcher. It's great against the Fires deck. Very few things close on the Fires deck like Dreadhorde Butcher. And yeah, the Noxious Grasp and the Red Cap melees, I'm still surprised to see Noxious Grasp cut back so much without Oko. I would still play 4. Mono Black Sacrifice. Mono Black fans, get excited. So many cats, so many ovens. Get used to it. You wanted a sacrifice deck, they gave you the cat oven. It's a total monkey paw of a situation. But this deck is built around Ayara, first of Locthwain. So we've also got Yarok's Fenlurker, which is an interesting one. And it's great to get back with Cavalier of Night. This deck looks like a hybrid between the Sacrifice deck that we know and love with Ayara and the black mid-range deck that I played with Heraldic Banner quite a bit. Legend also made a video with it. It was a Yarok's Fenlurker Cavalier of Night deck. So that's pretty good. I'm really surprised not to see any Murderous Rider. The deck basically ignores that card in favor of Midnight Reaper, Ayara, and it has main deck Drill Bits. Oh, there they are. They were hiding on me. They were hiding on me. Sometimes this layout does get me visually. There are 3 Murderous Riders. I approve. What isn't here? Rankle isn't here, and I do love Rankle. So I'm surprised that Rankle can't quite make the cut. I think that card is pretty great, but I get it. It's 4 mana for 1 creature in a deck that's really trying to amplify Ayara and other sacrifice synergies. 3 Castle Locthwains, whole bunch of swamps, a sideboard with, again, we see a bunch of Duress making their comeback, Legion's End, which we hadn't seen in a while, all 4 Noxious Grasp here, love it, Revenge of the Ravens, 3 of those, so I guess some red decks were expected, or other styles of aggressive decks. This probably isn't bad in the mirror, to be honest, when you think about Gutter Bones, Cauldron Familiars, all the things that the opponent will want to attack you with. And we've got Massacre Girls once again. It's nice to see Massacre Girls shining so much lately. Once they figured out how that card works with Cat Oven, it just took off. Is it Phoenix in the top 8? How? Why? I can't believe this deck is back. I am kind of blown away. I don't see anything particularly busted strong here either. It looks like a real throwback. So this is one of those things where I see it and it feels like an out-of-date deck, but I have to play it. And perhaps when I play it, I'll see where its good matchups in the meta lie. You'll see that there's all these Improbable Alliance in the sideboard. Fry is probably a good Magic card now that Oko is gone. It was kind of a joke that you couldn't kill it with Fry, a bit of a meme of its own. I like the Royal Scions with Arclight Phoenix. That's something I haven't explored much of. So yeah, I might have to revisit. I'm also really surprised by Discovery Dispersal making the cut when you're only running 2 Radical Ideas, which I think Radical Idea goes a lot better with Goblin Electromancer than Discovery Dispersal. And we don't see a black mana of any kind. In fact, there's not even Temple of Epiphany. There's a very straightforward mana base. We got 8 basic mountains, 4 steam vents, and 9 islands. So the opponent taking this player, taking no chances on their land being tapped. I would want a Watery Grave, something to cast the Dispersal as long as you're going to put it in there. The deck can't deal with all kinds of permanents, although I guess we have Brazen Borrower. Maybe the Borrower holds that up just fine. I'm not sure. Yeah, this list looks interesting. I'm going to have to go back and see if Phoenix is in fact still a thing. Going on down the list, there's no serious surprises. Jeskai Fire's Temur Reclamation, Is It Sacrifice? This Is It Flash deck has been floating around and it actually looks really cool. This is another one I can't wait to play and will definitely be part of the color challenge for Is It, where it's got 4 Gadwick the Wizened and a whole bunch of counter magic, a whole bunch of flash cards, including Brineborn Cutthroat. It's like a Simic Flash, but it plays Gadwick, and it has Ionize. So it's just kind of it's another kind of counter flash style, but it feels very different to me. And we've got a Rahl Is It Viceroy in the sideboard. What a legend. And then the Jun Sacrifice Rakdos, Temur Reclamation, Jeskai Fire's Rakdos Aggro. The Rakdos Aggro list is pretty hot. Just straight up beat you into the ground. 4 Ember Cleaves, Spawn of Mayhem, Rotting Regisaur. Go big or go home. I've been playing this in Historic. It's amazing how good this deck is when you add Dragon Skull Summit and the mana is just a tiny bit more consistent. Because as you can see right here, we've got a whole bunch of basic mountains and swamps, and we're trying to make Tournament Grounds do work. Tournament Grounds is not great with Spawn of Mayhem, guys. It does not go over that well. But when you add Dragon Skull Summit to this and have another dual land, this deck just serves up a beating. And I think this card's been underplayed. Stormfist Crusader is a pretty good card. So that's what's going on right now in the meta. You can also go here you see over here other major events that you can check out. MTGO leagues are decks that 5-0'd on Magic Online. Some of them still have Oko because of some lag in getting those lists out. Aether Hub has community tournaments as well. This was won by Goldgari Adventure, Goldgari Aggro, there's a Ramp Steel, and another Goldgari Adventure. So right now Goldgari is rising to the top and something to keep an eye on. I think that the best place to be against Goldgari is, well, I would have said an over-the-top strategy like Jeskai Fires should be good against Goldgari, but Goldgari has kept winning in that matchup, so maybe it takes something else. We don't see much Simic Flash. This is the first one we've seen. There's just one copy hanging out here. There's a Dimir control, so maybe there's some different kind of things popping up. There's a few more Is It decks, so do we finally have a diverse meta? Maybe. What have you guys been playing against? What are you seeing out there? I would expect a lot of Goldgari and a lot of Jeskai Fires this week. Those are the 2 decks I would keep an eye on, and if you can find a matchup where you feel good against both, you're probably in a decent place. The grindiness of Goldgari Adventure is quite the challenge, so let's see if we can solve that one. I'd be happy laddering with so many of these decks. I'm pretty happy with the changes. All right, now we're going to talk about Historic a little bit. Wizards launched their historic. I did a video on this of which cards to craft. You can get some new cards here. But there's also this event going on, the Historic Anthology event, where you can earn these card styles, but then you can play it as much as you want. And there's also now a Historic Ranked queue. It is best of 3. So one thing that's missing out there, I haven't seen much Historic best of 3 content. I'm also rarely that interested in best of 3 because my philosophy is usually that if you want to see a pro player play best of 3, that's not very hard to find. They're on Twitch, they're on YouTube, and they will do it very well. And I don't enjoy best of 3 nearly as much as I enjoy best of 1, especially for content, but I can't find anybody making historic best of 3 content. So that might be something I do as a Patreon series, something like that. You might say, hey, that's such a tease, why not put it on YouTube? My historic content so far doesn't get the attention on YouTube that I think it should. I think historic's a very fun format. I love exploring different formats, even though right now it's only one set different from standard. I really like it, but the crowd doesn't seem as into it. My polls have been kind of split on whether or not people will watch historic content, and the historic videos straight up do pretty poorly compared to standard. So I don't think I'll make that part of my main YouTube, but if you join Patreon, which is only like $2 a month, or if you're a YouTube member or a Twitch subscriber, any of those paid options, I might put up some historic traditional ranked stuff on there, show people how to rank up through the queues with historic. So let me know if you're interested. I would love your feedback on that. Also, we have to stop winning. We can't play anymore because we're on the nicest level of the mastery track. So we just kind of have to lock this in. Anyway, this will end the formal meta update. We're going to wrap up by playing a deck that I put up on my Patreon. Again, only $2 a month if you're interested in seeing extra videos from me. You still get the daily video here all the time, and most of those are standard. This is a historic deck, and I put up the deck list, so we're going to play kind of a bonus game. The games I played on for the Patreon video were amazing. I hope that this follows suit to just give you a taste of what this amazing Kiln Fiend Arclight Phoenix pile can do. So, let's grab a quick game. Ooh, we've got the Once Upon a Time, we've got a Kiln Fiend. Thrill can discard an Arclight. Yeah, we'll keep that. We don't usually play anything on turn 1, so don't be surprised if I don't actually cast this Once Upon a Time until our second turn. Opponent's gonna lead on Temple. What is that in historic? Not quite sure. And a passage. Okay. Alright, Once Upon a Time. There was. We don't have an Arclight yet, so the Merchant isn't very good. We could take a land to be sure, especially a green source in case we draw another Once Upon a Time could be good. We have Maximized Velocity. Yeah, let's make sure that we have land, and I may as well take the green source in case we draw Once Upon a Time. Here's my Kiln Fiend. I am ready to serve you some damage. Now, is the opponent going to elk it, is the question now. Or bounce it with Teferi could also be annoying. Jesus. Not cool, dude. Yeah, I know your responsibility. I know what you can do with your responsibility. Alright. We might end up discarding the land. No, we need to hit our land drops the way this game is going. You can rejoin the fray. Let's just maximize your velocity. And let's hit your face. Well, yeah, face. Face is the place. We have to remember we can't play instants because of Teferi, which isn't cool.
Don't worry, I got this.
But I need my opponent to just kind of whiff for a turn. Give me a chance. Give Kiln Fiend a chance. Plaza of Harmony. Scape Shift? Okay. Sure. It's a lot of damage. So we want to play all the 1-drop spells and have the Thud up our sleeve. So we'll start with the Crash Through. Perfect. All right, that is better than... Well, the velocity's good for damage. This is good for damage. 1, 2... Okay, yeah, we can still do this. Let's haggle away the mountain. All right. Oh, but I need to cast the Thud. I did it wrong. Oh well. I think we still get there. Let's shock your face. Take this Field of the Dead. Let's attack the opponent. Ah. I'm sure that what they've got here is Growth Spiral. Oh, are they gonna bounce the Fae? You don't want to do that. I mean, it doesn't matter. You're gonna die anyway, but this has Trample because of Crash Through. I think the opponent forgot how that works. They go to 1, and because that ain't enough. Oh, they didn't get to see the Thud. If you want to see the Thud, and you want to see some more discussion and gameplay with this deck, please check out Patreon, YouTube memberships, or Twitch subscriptions. There are links to all of those in the description, and right now I put up a video for those memberships with this deck. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching this video and the Monday meta update, and as always, I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.